Some Protestants misunderstand what Catholics believe, and they sometimes say things that aren't true. Let's clear up 5 common lies about Catholicism. We'll explain everything in a way that's easy to understand. By the end, you will see that some of these ideas are just big misunderstandings. First, some people think Catholics worship statues. Have you ever seen a Catholic praying in front of a statue of Mary or a saint? It might look like they're praying to the statue, but they're not. Catholics don't believe statues have any power or that the statue itself is holy. Instead, a statue is like a photo or a painting that reminds them of someone special. For example, when Catholics kneel in front of a statue of Mary, they're thinking about how much Mary loved God and asking her to pray for them. It's like asking a really good friend to help you talk to God. The statue isn't magical or divine, it's just a way to focus their prayers. Some Protestants might not be familiar with this kind of prayer and misunderstand what's happening, but it's important to know that Catholics only worship God, not statues, or even saints. To understand this better, think about how people keep pictures of their family or loved ones. Looking at the picture doesn't mean you're talking to the photo or think it's alive. It's just a way to feel close to the person it represents. In the same way, statues help Catholics feel close to Mary, the saints, or even Jesus. It's about remembering their example of faith and asking for their prayers, not replacing God with them. Statues are tools for reflection, not objects of worship. When people misunderstand this, it's usually because they don't realize how deeply Catholics focus their hearts on God when they use these reminders. Second, some Protestants believe that Catholics think the Pope is perfect and can never make a mistake. That's not true either. The Pope is the leader of the Catholic Church, and Catholics believe he has a special job to guide the Church in matters of faith and morals. But he's still a human being like everyone else. He makes mistakes, and he's not perfect. When Catholics say the Pope is infallible, they don't mean he's always right about everything. They mean that when he officially teaches something very important about faith or morals, God protects him from teaching something wrong. This doesn't happen very often, and it doesn't mean the Pope is perfect. He still has to pray, go to confession, and rely on God just like the rest of us. The idea of papal infallibility can be confusing, so here's an example. Imagine a teacher who has studied math their whole life and is explaining a very specific rule to their students. The teacher might make mistakes in their daily life, like forgetting their keys or spilling their coffee, but when it comes to teaching math, they're extra careful to get it right. Catholics believe that when the Pope is officially teaching about faith, God helps him get it right, even though he's not perfect in every other way. This doesn't happen with everything the Pope says, only in very specific situations. It's also important to know that this teaching authority comes with great responsibility. The Pope doesn't just make decisions on his own, he consults with bishops, theologians, and prays deeply to ensure his teaching reflects God's truth. Third, some Protestants believe Catholics worship Mary. This is not true. Catholics honor Mary because she is the mother of Jesus and a great example of faith, but they do not worship her. Worship is something that Catholics believe should only be given to God. When Catholics pray to Mary, they're asking her to pray for them, just like you might ask a friend or family member to pray for you. Catholics believe Mary is very close to God because she said yes to him in such an important way, but even Mary points people to Jesus. She's like a guide who always says, "Look at my son, Jesus." Think about it like this: if you had a big problem and wanted someone to help you talk to the teacher or principal, you might go to a good friend or someone who is very trusted. That's how Catholics see Mary. She's not the one solving the problem, but she's helping them bring it to Jesus. Everything Catholics do with Mary is really about Jesus. She's honored, but God is the one they worship. Catholics also have special prayers called the Hail Mary or the Rosary. These prayers aren't about worshiping Mary, they're about remembering her love for Jesus and asking her to pray for us. When Catholics pray the Rosary, they're also meditating on the life of Jesus, like his birth, his miracles, and his sacrifice on the cross. Mary always leads people closer to Jesus because she loves him so much. Catholics believe that honoring Mary doesn't take away from God. It actually helps them love him more. Mary is seen as the ultimate example of saying yes to God's plan, and Catholics believe her prayers can strengthen their own faith journey. By honoring Mary, they're acknowledging her role in bringing Jesus into the world and her continued care for his followers. Fourth, some Protestants think Catholics worship saints. This is another misunderstanding. Saints are people who loved God and followed him in amazing ways during their lives. Catholics don't worship saints, they honor them and ask for their prayers. Catholics believe that saints are alive in heaven with God, so they can pray for us just like our friends on earth can. It's kind of like having a big team of prayer partners. The saints aren't the ones answering prayers, only God does that, but Catholics believe their prayers can help. Here's an example: imagine you're on a soccer team, and you're about to play a big game. You might ask your teammates to cheer you on and encourage you. That doesn't mean you think your teammates can win the game for you, but their support helps you do your best. That's how Catholics see the saints. They're teammates who cheer them on and pray for them, but God is the one who makes everything happen. Catholics celebrate saints because their lives show how to follow God in special ways. Some saints helped the poor, some stood up for what was right, and others spread the message of Jesus to faraway places. Catholics believe saints can inspire us to be brave, kind, and faithful. When Catholics ask a saint to pray for them, it's not about replacing God, it's about having extra friends in heaven who care about us and want to help. Saints are models of how to live a holy life. And Catholics believe their stories encourage people to live closer to God. Honoring saints is about celebrating what God has done through their lives and being inspired to follow their example. Finally, some Protestants misunderstand the Catholic belief in purgatory. They might think Catholics believe purgatory is a second chance to get into heaven or a way to earn heaven, but that's not what Catholics believe. Purgatory is like a cleaning process for the soul. Catholics believe that when people die, they might still have some sins or selfishness that need to be purified before they enter heaven. It's not about being punished, it's about getting ready to be with God forever. Think of it like washing up before going to a big, fancy party. You're already invited, but you want to be your very best before you arrive. To explain this more, imagine you've been outside playing in the mud. And now it's time for dinner. You're not going to skip dinner, but you do need to wash your hands first. That's what purgatory is like. Catholics believe it's a way to clean up your soul so you can fully enjoy heaven with God. It's not about earning heaven, Jesus already made that possible, it's about being perfectly ready to be with him. Catholics also pray for people who have died, believing their prayers can help those in purgatory finish this cleaning process. It's an act of love and hope, trusting that God's mercy will bring everyone to heaven who belongs there. Purgatory isn't a scary place, it's like God's gentle way of preparing people to be completely happy with him forever. By praying for those in purgatory, Catholics show love and compassion, knowing that all souls are connected in God's family. This belief reflects their trust in God's mercy and his desire to make everyone ready for eternal joy. It's easy to misunderstand what other people believe, especially if you don't ask questions or take the time to learn. But now you know the truth about these 5 common lies. Catholics don't worship statues. They don't think the Pope is perfect. They don't worship Mary or the saints. And they don't believe purgatory is about earning heaven.